Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Taking notes as a computer science student can be complicated and daunting. You have to juggle between different types of classes. One teaches you how to code, next one teaches you math, and then there are some classes that go into dry theory. Usually, after you've completed all your classes, you have all these piles of notes and you have to make sense of them somehow to study for your exam. In this video, I'm going to teach you my system for note-taking for computer science classes that not only is a good note-taking system, but will help you easily transform your notes to study for your exams. Let's get right into it. Alright, why is this skill valuable? Note-taking was never taught to me at my school or university, so I had to figure it out myself. I tried a bunch of techniques like writing on paper, writing on my laptop, writing on my iPad, taking bullet points, or summarizing my thoughts into whole sentences. And this system that I'm going to show you in this video is the one that I eventually landed on and that helped me ace countless exams. Ideally, this system works with an iPad and good notes, but you can make this system work also on paper or on your laptop, so this is a platform agnostic system. But before we get into the system, I have to say that understanding is king. Any note-taking system is useless if you don't understand the materials, so make sure to understand the materials first and work through them. You may have to repeat these steps a couple of times to understand the materials really, before writing it down and trying to remember it. And before you tackle any class, I would recommend going through the materials if they are available, or through the materials of all classes, and getting an overview of the major topics of the class. This will help you easily categorize the things that you are remembering and trying to learn, and optionally you can also create a mind map. Alright, so let's get into the steps that you need to take for the note-taking system, and we are going to focus on the theory classes first, but I'm going to later show you also how this works for code and math classes. So you need the software GoodNotes. Let's open it up here. Alright, we're going to use the corner page layout, where we have 1/3 of the page on the left, and then we have a divider, and then we have 2/3 of the page on the right. If you're taking notes on paper, then you can draw this divider in manually. Alright, now that we have the page layout, let's create our new document. And in this document, we're going to create a page or even multiple pages. First of all, for a summary of all the topics, and then a page or multiple pages for each topic, depending on how many notes you are going to take. So in this example here, we have data analysis, recommendation, and clustering. And we are going to create a page for each of these topics. And the way the system works is, now that you're in the class, on the left side you're writing down a cue for like a concept or an explanation, a definition or something, and then on the right side you will write down in bullet points during the class what the explanation of this topic or something is. So on the left side here we're going to write down clustering, which is a concept that we need to remember, and on the right side we are going to write down in bullet points, find groups of items based on similar attributes. This is what the teacher told in the class. And then another example could be that we need to remember the formula of the Euclidean distance. And for that, on the left side, we're going to write down the Q Euclidean distance. And then the Euclidean distance is this formula right here. And then after class, or in your exam preparation, depending on when you're going to do this, you are going to transform these notes by turning the left side, the Q, into a question and detailing the explanation on the right side. So as an example, here on the left side we're going to write down what is clustering and what is the Euclidean distance. And then on the right side we're going to write down the explanation. So here as an example we write, clustering is a method that finds groups of items based on similar attributes. It does that by comparing the distance between two items. And we're going to write down the Euclidean distance is a mathematical formula that measures the straight line distance between 2 points in any number of dimensions. It is calculated by this formula. And now comes the real magic. You know about all these most efficient study techniques like active recall and spaced repetition. Well, we're going to essentially do this, but in a much easier way. When you review your exam notes, you are going to essentially go over the questions on the left side. So this is the active recall part, and trying to remember what you wrote on the right side. So you actually have to cover what is on the right side. Just try to remember what the answer was based on the question that is on the left side. And then, depending on how well you remembered the answer, you are going to color the question with a traffic light system. So red, for example, would be when you had no idea what the answer was. Yellow would be when you remembered the answer partially, and green would be when you remembered the answer correctly. Ideally, you also would do this by talking out loud, because this is just a much better technique for your brain to remember what you're going to say. But if this is not something that you like to do, then you can just leave it out and just remember the things in your head. And now that you're learning for your exam, go through your notes a couple of times a day. This will take anywhere between 30 minutes to over an hour. So for one class, you can maybe do this twice a day, but you have to make sure that you start the revision of these notes at least 1 week before your exam is, or maybe 5 days. Can also work if you know this technique and have done it before, but your brain needs time to remember the answers. In my personal experience, I have used the system for almost 2 years now, and has really worked well for me, not only for theory classes, but also for mathematical classes. But you have to make sure that you also get in practice. Alright, so like I already mentioned in the beginning of the video, you can also do this exact note-taking system for coding classes or mathematical classes when you try to, for example, learn the syntax of a coding language or try to remember some mathematical formulas. So for mathematical classes, this means going through old exams or homework assignments, and you can also do this for coding classes. If you want to see a video where I talk about how I would study for a mathematical class or a coding class, then make sure to write a comment down below. Alright, so common pitfalls to avoid is, first of all, ideally you go to every class to get the understanding of the materials in first. And I have to say, this is no note-taking system that you can just use at the end of the semester where you did not go to any class and now you look at the slides for the first time and try to make sense of it. This will not work because the understanding of the material is not there, so make sure to go to every class. Alright, then what you have to avoid is that you don't do this for every little detail that is on the slides, because then you will have just too many questions and trying to remember too much stuff for one class, which will not work. So you have to be able to abstract these things into higher concepts. So this requires also some of your own thinking. Then I would also recommend summarizing or giving the explanation in your own words and not just writing down something that is on the slides. And ideally, how the system would work is that you do this ongoing throughout the year. So after each class, you have your notes, and then you already turn them into exam preparation finished notes. And the last thing to avoid is that you should not let creating these exam notes consume too much of your time, because this can also be a sort of procrastination for studying for your exam. So these notes don't have to be pretty, they just have to work. So, as a recap, what does this note-taking system consist of? First of all, get an overview over all the topics in your class, and when you are in class, make sure to get an understanding. Take notes with the corner layout, so on the left side you write down the cue, and on the right side you write down the bullet points. When you review your notes, then turn the left side cue into a question and the right side into a detailed explanation. Then review your notes by going over and over them again, and ask yourself the question that is on the left side and trying to come up and remember the answer that was on the right side. If the answer was correct, you can color it with the traffic light system. If you like this video, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below, and make sure to write in the comments what your note-taking system is for studying for exams. I would love to hear what you have to say. And if you're interested into how you can set a goal to achieve good grades for this exam phase, then make sure to watch this video here that I recorded about how to set goals. And with that, I will see you in the next one, and thank you for watching. Bye.